Man, if you're a Buffalo Bills fan right now, you're probably hovering somewhere between cautiously optimistic and straight up terrified. Because while the team is deep talented and poised for another run, this training camp is turning into an absolute minefield of injuries. And yeah, I get it. Every year around this time, we see soft tissue injuries pop up all over the league. But this year, it feels like Buffalo might just be leading the league in guys limping off the field. Now, let's not hit the panic button just yet. A lot of what we're seeing falls into that category of minor strains. Those grade 1 injuries that are more about tightness or soreness than actual tears. Nobody's clutching their hamstring and dropping to the turf like they've been shot. No, most of these guys are walking off on their own sometimes, quietly, which actually tells us a lot. That's a sign teams are simply playing it safe. It's camp, after all. If there's ever a time to be conservative, it's now. Especially with veterans, guys like Terrell Bernard, for instance, who's had hamstring and pec issues in the past. They're not going to rush him back into drills when they can give him 2 full weeks to recover and still be ready when it matters. But still, fans are looking at the list and going, is this normal? And yeah, it actually is. This time of year, with bodies not fully acclimated to the sudden demands of football movements, explosive cut sprinting, reacting to unpredictable contact, it's a breeding ground for tight hamstrings, sore calves, and minor tweaks. Hydration plays a role, sure. So does off-season conditioning. But the truth is nothing mimics game speed football, game speed football. No matter how many cones you run around in the summer, you're not simulating the chaos of 11-on-11s with a helmet on. Now, while the soft tissue stuff might not be setting off alarms, some injuries are getting attention, and rightfully so. Let's talk about Tyrell Shavers and that ankle scare. The initial report's brutal. Dude was screaming, had to be helped off, and was even carded. You hear that and immediately think high ankle sprain or worse, a fracture, maybe a tib-fib issue. But then came the update, it's a low ankle sprain. Best case scenario. Those are the ones that can clear up in a week or two, sometimes even less, depending on the severity. And based on what we're hearing from the team, they're not overly concerned. Shavers might be back in pads sooner than we thought. Now compare that to someone like Spencer Brown. That's where it starts to get a little concerning. Not just because he's still sidelined, but because of his history, specifically back surgery. Anytime a big offensive lineman has a back issue and he starts missing extended time, you gotta ask yourself, is this going to be something that lingers? Is it going to become one of those situations where he's in and out of the lineup all year long, popping up on the injury report every other week? We don't know yet, but the longer he stays out, the more that possibility becomes real. And when your offensive line is trying to protect Josh Allen, the least sacked quarterback in the league last year, by the way, you can't afford that kind of uncertainty. Thankfully, Tynell Gable has been turning heads again at camp picking. Up right where he left off last year before his own injury, he's given the staff a little bit of breathing room at that position. Now, one injury that absolutely came out of left field, and honestly might be the weirdest one of camp so far, is Tyler Bass's pelvic issue. And yes, it came with a peanut emoji on social media, which, look, I get it, it's funny. But there's nothing funny about your kicker dealing with pain in that sacred zone. When teams use vague language like pelvic pain that raises red flags, because they usually just say groin or hip if that's what it is. But pelvic, that points towards something more specific, possibly osteitis pubis, which is inflammation right where the two halves of your pelvis meet deep in the lower core. For a kicker, that's a nightmare. That part of the body is crucial. For hip swing, power, accuracy, everything. Even a slight tweak can throw off your whole rhythm. If Bass is dealing with a full-blown bone marrow edema in that area, we're talking about a recovery that could stretch for months. Injections, pain management, even missing regular season time isn't out of the question. Best case scenario, he's just sore, they shut him down as a precaution, and he's back soon. But based on how off his kicks were during the rainy practice, missing half of them, it might have already been affecting him before the team announced anything. Could be a strain, could be something more. Either way, this one is worth watching closely. Then there's Dalton Kincaid, man. Everyone had their eyes on this guy heading into year 2, hoping he'd take that big leap. But now we're hearing he's having lingering issues with that PCL he injured last season. No procedure was done to clean it up, which usually tells us it wasn't a complete tear. The PCL is not as crucial as the ACL, but it does help stabilize the knee. And if there's even a little laxity, if it's just a bit loose, It can cause swelling, instability, and pain, especially when making sharp cuts or planting the foot hard. It's not great news, especially for a guy whose frame already has people wondering if he's physically built to withstand a full season. Remember that viral pic from OTA's skinny frame, double knee braces, and the front office publicly saying he needed to bulk up. He still doesn't look significantly stronger. If this knee issue continues to flare up, it's not just a medical concern, it's a developmental red flag. We're talking about a guy who was supposed to be a major piece in this offense, especially after the departures in the receiver room. So now we wait and hope it's just precautionary and not something chronic. And then there's Dorian Williams, another depth piece that Buffalo really needs to pan out, especially with the linebacker group already thin. Shaq Thompson's a solid starter, no doubt, but behind him, the drop-off is steep. Balen Spector, bless his heart, is a liability in coverage and lacks the instincts you need at the second level. That makes someone like Dorian, young, athletic, with upside, critical. So when he shows up in a boot one day and a sleeve the next, fans take notice. A boot usually means a moderate calf strain, or worse. The fact that he was standing not on a scooter is a decent sign. But he's still likely to miss a few weeks. And during training camp, every missed rep matters, especially for a guy who needs to prove he belongs in those 3 linebacker sets. But listen, not everything is doom and gloom. There are bright spots. Matt Milano, for example, looks mostly back. He's explosive going downhill. He's diagnosing plays, moving with purpose, delivering hits. But there's a caveat. One and on in pass drills against James Cook, he got absolutely torched. 6 yards of separation. And afterward, he shook out that surgically repaired knee like something didn't feel right. So while he might look great in a straight line change of direction, might be a different story. And for a linebacker, that's everything in coverage. He might not be the same sideline to sideline guy anymore. He might get beat in coverage more than we're used to seeing. Think Von Miller last year, serviceable but not dominant. That might be the new normal for Milano. And lastly, we got to talk about Keon Coleman, rookie wideout with big expectations, and he's already making noise. He's not your traditional separator, not a twitchy router runner, but he's physical. He wins with his frame, with body control. Those are traits that shine when the pads go and not necessarily in shorts and t-shirts. So yeah, he dropped a couple easy balls early in camp and took some heat. But then came that rainy padded practice on Sunday and he showed out. Big time catches physical presence. You can see why the staff is excited about him. He's still raw, but he's trending in the right direction. As long as he stays healthy, he could be a real weapon for this offense. So yeah, injuries are part of the game. They always have been and they always will be. But when you stack them up like this, especially at key positions, it starts to test your depth. Buffalo's going to have to be smart. Rest the right guys, push the right buttons, and hope some of these issues clear up in time. Because if this team is going to take that next step and finally get over the hump, they're going to need everyone from Josh Allen all the way down to the rookies locked in and healthy. And here's the thing, depth doesn't just mean having a warm body in the rotation. It means having someone who's not a liability when the bullets start flying. It means you can trust a guy to step in mid-season on the road against a top-tier offense and not just survive but contribute. Right now, with so many guys either banged up or working back from something, Buffalo's coaching staff is in that phase, where they're not just evaluating talent, they're trying to figure out which of these backups can actually play if it comes to that. Because let's face it, it always does. Take the linebacker situation again. With Dorian Williams sidelined and Bernard getting a cautious ramp up due to that hamstring tightness, the reps are going to other guys. Guys who maybe weren't expected to be on the field this early. And that's a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's a chance for the coaching staff to see what they've really got in their depth pieces. But on the other hand, every rep those starters or key backups miss is a rep they're not using to get sharper, more cohesive, more game-ready. You lose rhythm. You lose instinctual chemistry with the rest of the defense. And come week 1, that stuff matters. Let's go back to the offense for a minute, because as much as we talk about Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, or now maybe more about Keon Coleman and Dalton Kincaid, the offensive line is the real backbone of this group. And with Spencer Brown still on the sideline due to lingering back issues, we're once again reminded just how fragile that foundation is. His back surgery isn't ancient history. It's recent enough that anything involving stiffness or discomfort has to be treated. like a potential long-term issue. And while it's great to see Tynell Gable flashing again in camp, let's be real. If the starting right tackle goes down for good, the protection scheme shifts, the pressure on Josh increases, and suddenly the offense loses that edge that made it so efficient last year. And then there's the psychology of all of it. This is something fans don't always see, but it plays a massive role. When you're a player and every day someone else on your unit is limping off the field or sitting out drills, it starts to get into your head. You start second guessing yourself in cuts. You hesitate. You change the way you move. And hesitation gets you hurt. That's how a ripple effect starts. One injury becomes two, becomes four, becomes a headline. Coaches preach next man up, but they also know how quickly the dominoes can fall if a locker room starts believing it's snake bitten. And that brings us back to Tyler Bass. Because as weird and niche as a kicker's pelvic injury sounds, the ripple effect from that could be massive. You lose Bass for any extended period, and suddenly your offense isn't just worried about touchdowns. They're worried about whether or not they can trust their field goal unit at all. 4th and 6 from the 34 becomes a punt instead of a field goal attempt. You hesitate in your red zone play calling. Maybe you push for touchdowns when you normally take the 3. That's how game plans shift in subtle but meaningful ways. The difference between a reliable kicker and a shaky replacement isn't just points, it's confidence. And a team with Super Bowl aspirations doesn't want to roll into the season asking, can we trust the backup kicker? That's why the updates coming out of camp this week are so important. Because even though we're still a month out from meaningful football, these next few days will tell us how conservative the Bills are willing to be. Are they playing it super safe with all these soft tissue guys? Or are they going to rush back someone like Dorian Williams just to see him limp off again? Will Spencer Brown need another shutdown period to preserve that back? And what about Dalton Kincaid? Do they start reducing his load to try and protect that knee? Or do they gamble and hope it holds up under more stress? And man, don't even get me started on Matt Milano again. I know some fans are like, he's back, baby. Because he's flying downhill and blowing up plays. But just watch him move laterally, watch him try to cover a shifty back or a fast tight end. That hesitation is there. That little shake he gave after getting beat by James Cook. That wasn't nothing. That was his body saying, hey, something still doesn't feel quite right. And again, it's not about whether he's good. He's still a high IQ, aggressive linebacker. But he might not be elite anymore in coverage. That changes how you deploy him. It might change your entire third down scheme, because if he can't keep up in the flat, you need a different body in that zone. And that body might not be on this roster yet. This is where training camp gets real. It's not just about highlight catches or flashy plays. It's about identifying the cracks before the dam breaks. It's about seeing which injuries are smoke and which ones are fire. Tyler Bass's pelvic pain might just be tightness, or it could be the start of a problem that lingers all season. Spencer Brown's back might be manageable, or it might become chronic. Dalton Kincaid's knee might be inflamed from camp wear and tear, or it might never be right without surgery. The line between he'll be fine and he's going to miss. 6 games is razor thin in the NFL, and right now Buffalo's walking that line with a few too many guys. Now if you're wondering, well, what's the good news? It's this: nobody's season is over. Not yet. We haven't seen the words torn or ruptured pop up next to anyone's name, and that's huge. Most of what's going on is manageable. And credit to the Bills training staff, they're not rushing anyone back. They're not playing that dangerous game of pushing guys through pain in July so they break in October. They're being methodical. Careful. They've been through this before. And look, that's part of why Buffalo's been so competitive the past few years. It's not just about the stars. It's about managing the grind of a full season. It's about making it to December with enough healthy bodies to make a run. This team has been in the playoffs 4 years in a row for a reason. They understand the long game. They know September doesn't mean much if you're broken by November. But at the same time, this camp feels like a bit of a test, a stress test on the team's depth, a wake-up call to some of these young players who might be getting more reps than they expected. This is their moment. Because one bad MRI, one awkward step, and they might be lining up against Miami in week 2. And let me tell you, there are no warm-ups when Tyreek Hill's running at you full speed. No extra time to get acclimated when you're trying to bring down Derrick Henry. Either you're ready or you're not. And camp is the crucible where that readiness is forged. And speaking of being forged, let's circle back to Keon Coleman. because this dude might just be the wild card of this entire offense. He's not Gabe Davis. He's not trying to be. He's got a different style. He's got that alpha dog physicality, that box out mentality you see in basketball forwards. He's raw, yeah, and he's going to drop some passes, but he brings an edge. And with all the question marks around the receiver room, he might be the guy who emerges, not just as a reliable target, but as a tone setter. You need someone who's not afraid to body up a corner, who can win in traffic, who can convert a 3rd and 8 when the scheme breaks down. Coleman has that potential, and if he stays healthy, he could be a problem for defenses this year. But again, that's the key word, if. If he stays healthy, if the soft tissue stuff doesn't creep in, if the rookies hold up under the grind of an NFL season, if the key veterans like Milano and Brown don't regress, if Tyler Bass gets right, if Kincaid finds his footing, that's a lot of ifs. But it's the NFL. Every contender is juggling them. What sets teams apart is how they manage those ifs. Do they have the medical team, the depth, the coaching, the culture to navigate a rocky camp and still come out swinging in September? Can they take this adversity and turn it into preparation? Or do they fold under the pressure scramble for answers mid-season and flame out before Thanksgiving? Buffalo's been here before. They know what this feels like, but this year more than ever, they've got to be sharp, smart, disciplined, because the margins are razor thin. One mistimed comeback from injury, one backup who's not ready, one slow start, and you're chasing all season. And in the AFC, where every playoff spot is a war chasing, is not where you want to be. So for now, we hold our breath. We watch the practice reports, we listen for updates, and we hope that this rough patch in camp is just that. A patch, not a preview. Because this team is good enough to contend, good enough to make a run, but only if they're healthy. Only if these bruises stay bruises and don't turn into breaks. Before we dive back in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest Buffalo Bills updates straight to your screen. And hey, don't hold back. Let us know your thoughts on today's news down in the comments. Whispers are growing louder in the NFL world as rumors swirl around a potential major shakeup in the Buffalo Bills defensive line. Sources close to the team and insiders within the league have been buzzing about the possibility that Ed Oliver, the promising interior defensive lineman, might be on his way out of Buffalo. This potential departure could leave a significant hole in the Bills' defensive front, sparking speculation about what this would mean for the team's defensive strategy moving forward. Oliver, known for his disruptive presence and ability to collapse the pocket from the interior, has been a key figure for the Bills' defense since being drafted. His quickness and strength have made him a formidable opponent for offensive lines, often forcing quarterbacks into hurried decisions and creating opportunities for turnovers. If the rumors prove true and Oliver does leave, the Bills could find themselves scrambling to fill the gap left by one of their most impactful defenders. The chatter began after some quiet but noticeable tension reportedly arose between Oliver and the Bills front office. Contract negotiations and playing time concerns have been hinted at in various media circles, fueling the speculation that the two sides might not find common ground. Fans and analysts alike are now debating whether the Bills will push to retain him at all costs or consider moving on, possibly eyeing new acquisitions or internal development to bolster their defensive front. Adding to the intrigue is the timing. Right, as teams begin to strategize for the upcoming season, defensive line depth is crucial in today's NFL, where pass-heavy offenses demand constant pressure to disrupt rhythm. Losing a player like Oliver, who excels at interior pressure, could force Buffalo to rethink its defensive game plan or shift responsibilities to other players who may not yet have proven themselves at the same level. The Bills' defense has long been a source of strength, and the interior line plays a vital role in both stopping the run and pressuring opposing quarterbacks. The departure of a key lineman would not only affect the on-field performance, but also the locker room dynamics and overall morale. Teammates who rely on Oliver's presence to free them up could find themselves under added pressure. As of now, no official statements have been made, and the Bills organization remains tight-lipped about the situation. Coaches and management are presumably weighing their options, balancing the value of Oliver's talent against the potential costs involved in retaining him. The NFL offseason is always a period ripe with surprises, and this emerging story about Ed Oliver could be one of the more impactful moves the Bills face. Whether this rumor turns into reality or is just a passing whisper in the wind, it's clear that the Buffalo Bills' defensive line could be on the verge of change. Fans will be watching closely as the situation develops, eager to see if the team can hold on to one of its defensive cornerstones or if they will need to chart a new course in building a championship-caliber defense. The buzz is just beginning, and the NFL offseason has never looked more intriguing for Bills supporters. That's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of all things Buffalo Bills, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. See you in the next update.